So the Cavs survive. I was really hoping this wasn't going to happen. I didn't watch a lot of these games. I started watching more of them the later this series got into it. And even though the home team had won every single game going into Game 7, I was standing on the side of the Orlando Magic like this is the young team that is more hungry. They've got more to play for as far as wanting to be here and wanting to make some noise and establish themselves. Whereas the Cavs, man, this franchise is going nowhere right now. We all know once they play the Celtics, they're going to get them out of there so quick, and it's just not going to be fun to watch at all. These games aren't even going to be competitive. It's going to be Donovan Mitchell fighting for his life, and no one's going to be helping him out because that's what this series was. As far as I am concerned, every other series that exists is highly watchable, and both Western Conference matchups are electric. And I'm not missing any of those games. Cavs, Celtics, you can probably skip that whole series. Snooze fest. I will respect the Cavs if they win 2 games in this series, but they won't. They won't. And I called the Celtics frauds the entire season. This is not their moment of exposure. The Cavs were daydreaming about Cancun in the second quarter yesterday. Donovan Mitchell put the team in his backpack yet again in Game 7 to squeak out a first-round series against the Magic. And let's talk about the Magic because I'm not going to lie. I've made a couple videos talking about the Cavs, and there's really the only thing that matters with this franchise is Donovan Mitchell and what I mean, he's not going to want to come back, so what they trade him for and how they kind of restart what they're doing and then the other guys they decide to hold on to. Because Darius Garland has proved that he can't fit with Donovan Mitchell, and honestly, we're starting to think maybe what can we even do with Darius Garland? How can we build a team with him as the starting point guard, and can we do that? And if we can't do that, how are we going to get rid of him, and then how are we going to rebuild our team? I mean, that's like the most important questions for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Also, your big man situation that you've been trying with this experimental 2 true big men that can't shoot a lick really still hasn't worked at all. You're probably going to have to do something about that as well. So there's nothing interesting about them on the court to me. It's going to be Donovan Mitchell, ball hog, and try to save us. And I say ball hog, but it's a rightful ball hog because what the hell else is anybody else going to do? I'm just annoyed. Like, I really didn't want the Cavs to win this game just because Orlando, yes, they would have lost also, but they would have made it a lot more interesting. They play with a lot more fire. Seeing the young guys get to this stage, and Paolo especially, it's just such a far more intriguing event that didn't happen because no one could win a road game in Cleveland by default, having the home court advantage. They fought back in that Game 7. You got to give them credit. They were dead in the water. Spida Mitchell, that guy right there. Thank that man for your shred of relevancy before it all goes away. Not that I'm a Magic fan or anything like that. And speaking of Magic fans, all 60 of you, let's talk about Orlando. That's why we're here, because we are saying farewell to a team that, once again, 2 seasons in a row exceeded expectations. We can see what is forming, coming into fruition. With this franchise, they're building a team in such an interesting, weird way. It's kind of like how the Raptors or I think that's a good comp. The Raptors. How the Raptors would build a team. You get a bunch of really tall, 6'7 plus guys that can't shoot at all, but they play hard and they play defense and they play together. And you have a good coach, and you have your cornerstone player, and you have a defensive guard who is going to be a part of what this team does in the next 5-10 years. Jalen Suggs is one of those unique players who doesn't have to score a ton of points, but man, is he a valuable defensive asset and a guy that you just love to have on your side when you go to war. And so, yeah, he was getting banged up. This guy plays his heart out, and maybe he didn't have his best series, certainly didn't have his best game. I think you'd hold on to Franz for the foreseeable future with the hope that his jumper can exist at some level, like make a jump shot. If you add that big free agent, maybe it eases the load off of him, and also with Paolo taking another step, year 3 of Paolo, maybe he realizes that he's 6'10", 250. That was one of the things that I was seeing with him. This guy is such a dominant player. He already knows what to do and how to approach these big games, and he certainly performed. That being said, he's not using his physical traits as much as he could. He's not running guys over as much as he could. Go in the post. Get as close as you can to the rim. Stop settling all the time for the mid-range jumper. And this guy's, 21 years old? So having these criticisms and being as dominant as he is, it's a great thing because we can see the room to grow. We can see how he gets better and how he builds on what he has already established himself to be. Of course, what is going to help him the most? Well, maybe you can space the floor a little bit. This team, it's so funky the way they build the team because nobody can shoot. It's like all their guards, their ball handler guys, they're not really shooters at all. Jalen Suggs is your best guard shooter. What does that really say about your team? Franz Wagner, complete brick this year, and he was in peak form yesterday, 115. You're going to war with Gary Harris as your sniper and Joe Ingles. Those are your two guys that are there to shoot threes. That's a problem. This is the NBA in 2024. You need to have a little bit of shooting at least. Wendell Carter Jr., I don't think he's the answer. I don't think you found your center necessarily. But once again, for your team to be this far, without a lot of key components, it's truly promising. Because finding that number one guy for your franchise, it's the hardest thing to do. Along with finding a good coach. Very hard thing to do. Jamal Mosley knows what he's doing. He connects with the players, and they're building the team right because they're not making a ton of moves, trying to find the right pieces all at once. They've got their whole team together. They're letting them grow together. This is how you build the team. And they're seeing what they've got. I don't know how long Markelle Fultz is staying here. If Anthony Black's a real part of this future. You got a lot of young guys, athletic guards that can't shoot. Just players that can't shoot, and so they all can't go. You're going to have to replace them. So we hear about Klay Thompson and Paul George as the most likely free agents to sign. Listen, Klay Thompson on paper sounds great. I mean, that's perfect. If he just wants to stand in the corner and jack threes, what better place to do it? I mean, that's probably as good of a shot as this team will get any given possession because seriously, the offense is ugly as hell, man. It's disgusting, and you need the shooting like you need air. Now, Klay Thompson, I don't know what kind of Klay he's going to be. He's getting older, and this man has a little bit of an ego. He might just get there and not like that role. He might just want the ball more. He might say, what are you guys going to tell me about how to win a basketball game? I got 4. What has this franchise ever done? Give me the ball. Let me cook. If anybody is overconfident enough to believe that after 2 straight seasons of being washed up, that they can still carry a team, not that he ever carried a team, but, I have my own team now. I'm going to ball out. It really just depends how he sees the situation. If he wants to take a back seat to the two, Franz and Paolo, I don't really know how much Franz is going to be involved in the future of this team, but certainly someone like Klay Thompson. If they get Paul George, that's fantastic. Again, it's not saving the team. It's not making them a championship contender immediately, but it's a guy that can guard and a guy that can shoot, and that's perfect. They just need a guy that can snipe threes. Really, that's all. At least one. 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Literally as many as possible would be preferable, and they can maybe... I mean, it's hard to find a center. That's the thing. And maybe you don't need to have a star center, but still. You have a handful of candidates and guys that can play the 5. Jonathan Isaac can play the 5. Can he start at the 5 full-time? Probably not. Mo Wagner, Wendell Carter, Goga, those are 3 guys. Can any of them really be a starter on a championship team? Probably not. But you have pieces. You have stuff to work with, and you learn things about the players. And I like where this team is with Paolo. They feel comfortable with that, and like they can make the playoffs every single year in this weak-ass Eastern Conference. So, and it would have been nice to win this, I thought they were gonna bring it and steal it and shock the world, but yeah, they'll be back. I don't think they're sweating it. I mean, it's you can't really lose with this team because obviously you weren't gonna win a championship this year, but you took a step. You take a step every season, you're gonna get to where you want to be.